This is Miriam Rosen. I'm chair of the Employment Law Group at McDonald Hopkins. Employers are severely feeling the effects of the coronavirus. Today, we'll be talking about some of the issues impacting employers. Those include things like remote working for employees, unfortunately, furlough, layoff, and potentially WARN issues, unemployment, employee benefit issues. Employers are having to deal with all of these suddenly and make very quick decisions. But probably the issue that is affecting employers the most, and the area where we are receiving the most questions initially, is the impact of the new federal legislation, the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act. That act has several provisions that provide for time off and paid time off for employers who are 500 employees or fewer. And I'd like to spend a few minutes today talking about that. And in other segments, we'll get to some of these other issues. So employers have a lot of questions about the Families First Act. I want to go over the two key elements of it. The first is a new paid family leave component. Who's eligible for this? Employees who have been employed at least 30 days are eligible for this new FMLA COVID-19 leave. What are the reasons that the employee might take the leave? Well, initially the act was more broadly defined, but as it was signed by President Trump on March 18th, there's really one allowable reason to take leave under the Family and Medical Leave Act. That's to care for the employee's child who is under 18 if the child's school or place of care has been closed or the child care provider is unavailable due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Act provides that the first 2 weeks of a paid leave are unpaid. After the first 2 weeks, the next 10 weeks, so up to 12 weeks off for a family medical emergency, would be paid at 2/3 the employee's regular rate of pay, up to a maximum of $200 a day or a total of $10,000. One of the concerns for employers is how they'll pay for this, obviously. Well, a tax credit will be available to employers who are required to make this payment. Another provision of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act is emergency paid sick leave. Again, this is for employers who are 500 employees or less. This benefit is available to anyone who is considered to be an employee, so they don't even have to be employed those 30 days. There are a number of additional reasons that someone will be eligible for this emergency paid sick leave. Basically, to broadly summarize, it's if the employee themselves is sick or required to quarantine, a family member is sick or required to quarantine, or the employee has child care issues. This emergency paid sick leave benefit is available for 80 hours. That is paid at 100% of the employee's pay if the employee themselves are sick or self-quarantined, and 2/3 of the employee's regular rate of pay if they're caring for a family member or they have child care issues. And there's a limit on this benefit as well, which is $511 to a maximum of $5,110 or $200 a day for the family member care or child care issues. One of the questions we've got a lot is, can the emergency paid sick time be used to pay for the first 10 unpaid days of the new FMLA benefit? The answer is yes. Now, something that's interesting to note is the Department of Labor will be issuing guidance on this, and we'll have more answers about how these laws are to be applied in terms of notification requirements, in terms of usage requirements. Expect that guidance on or about March 25th, and we'll have many more answers to some of the questions that employers have. So we talked about the paid family leave. We talked about the emergency paid sick leave. One other thing to consider is unemployment. The first two benefits that I talked about are available when an employee is at work but unable to work or telework because they need time off to care for themselves or a family member or to provide child care. Unemployment provides a benefit to employees who have been laid off or furloughed and are not at work. How all of these things kind of fit together, again, we'll see some of that when we get the guidance from the Department of Labor on March 25th. But I think it's important to keep in mind that there are really three types of benefits that we're talking about here. And I guess I would also add that some states have also started to provide for their own benefits. I believe we'll see more of that going forward. We know right now that New York has already passed a paid sick leave benefit. I think we have to keep watching and see what's happening with both at the federal level and at the state level.